Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fight for Redacted show. We are joined today by a very special guest. He is the founder of the Redacted Caucus, Mr. Trent Ortner. I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name.
It's Ortner.
Ortner.
It's German. It's everybody tries to overpronounce it every time. But
yeah, I was gonna say it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna not say it. I'm gonna bring you up onto the screen and just admit that I don't know how to say it, because I interact with you on Twitter most often, and you're just the Redacted Caucus. So we don't need to know people's real names.
No, I preferably not, and then that way they can't single us out.
Right. When I had the Libertarian Redhead on the show for the first time, I sent her an email, and I started off the email with, "I just realized I have no idea what your real name is." I had no fucking clue. I literally found out her real name before she responded to that email, which was super like embarrassing, because I could have just like waited a day to send the email and it would have been fine.
That's a problem
that didn't
we run
happen
into all the time, because like a lot of the Boogaloo movement just interacts on like Keybase and other encrypted messaging systems. So nobody ever uses their real name, and so you get like 3 or 4 different programs and 3 or 4 different, the same person with 3 or 4 different usernames. It's pretty hard to keep up. So I try to start using my real name as much as possible.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually know Magnus Padvidya in real life. I met him over the summer, and I didn't realize it until like a month and a half ago, and I knew that he didn't realize it either. But I didn't want to like DM him on Twitter and be like, "Hey, are you this guy from this place?" Because like I know what that looks like, and like I don't want to be a fed, like. So I'm not gonna just DM you and ask you what your real name is and where you're from and if you worked on this specific thing.
His last name's a lot more difficult than mine, so at least I got that going for me.
There you go. Oh my gosh. So I like to start off the show by just kind of asking your testimony of libertarianism, why you how you found the movement and the party, and why you joined up.
All right. Well, I've been involved with the Libertarian Party off and on since I was still in the Marine Corps in 2011. One of my friends, David, actually is his name. He got me into it. I grew up very, very conservative. My grandparents were Pentecostal pastors, and so I grew up not really understanding the other side until I moved to California when I was in the military, and I saw like the whole other side of the spectrum, and then I was able to start forming my own beliefs. Ultimately, I think the root of it was when the Occupy Wall Street protests started happening. My friend Tony, who was my senior before he got out, he was living in LA. He's from California, and he kind of got me into it. And I was like, what the hell does Occupy Wall Street have to do with LA? But I was there when they had the riots, and that kind of really gave me my first real dose of police. I don't want to say brutality, police overstepping. But with the Liberty movement and the Boogaloo movement, what really got me into it was last year I had my daughter last January, and I was sitting there holding her, and I was thinking in my head, like, what's her life going to be like? And like I had this overwhelming fear and just absolute terror, because I didn't know. I didn't know what the world was going to hold in 10, 15, 20 years. And that's really what got me to not so much search, but like seek out people that were wanting to get involved. And I was on Facebook, and one of my buddies asked me if I wanted to co-admin a Facebook group called OK Redcoat. And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, I was in all the other like book type meme groups, and so I was like, yeah, sure. You know, why not? And that kind of really got me into it. And that's where I started meeting people. But in last July, when they did the Great Zuckening, I was one of the ones that I lost everything. I had you know, the max amount of friends. I used it to network with people, and I've lost a lot of contacts that way that I still haven't regained. But that's about it, really. Went to my first protest last August.
Yeah, I somehow have avoiding every time.
Yeah. I went to my first protest last August.
Some lag there on that one.
And it was a small one, but that's where I met BLM for the first time. I'm actually going to start working with the guy that got me into it. Me and a former friend of mine who was in USBC. We were doing security for them, and I was there as a medic, and that's kind of where I got my contacts with that.
That's awesome. I'm loving seeing the actual like mobile arm of the movement existing. I just had Magnus on the show yesterday. So you know, just and getting to interact with multiple, like between BLM and Tifa and some of the Boogs and some of the other militias, and like I actually grew up around like some Proud Boys. Like in high school, I had some friends that were Proud Boys, and like getting to see, like, I'll throw the Threepers in there too. Yeah, like just these different groups of people that are like, you know, eventually we're gonna need to know some shit. We're gonna need to be ready for some shit. Like we, I like there's varying degrees of pessimism, right, throughout the different groups and like different members in the groups, but they all kind of come down to the same realization that, like, regardless of like how well I think maybe libertarian politics is going to work out, you know, there's a possibility that I'm going to need to know how to actually overthrow a tyrannical government, because like, and even if we don't have to, we should know how to, because if we don't know how to and we don't train our kids how to, then we end up back in the same mess that we were in.
Yep. Unfortunately, yeah, there's a whole lot of truth to that, man.
Yeah, cause I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so like I grew up around like a bunch of gun nuts, but it's still not the right kind of gun nut, like, you know, not the kind of people that actually would have known what to do if they had to like breach a building or something like that, right? Like they would have been fucking clueless. Like they know how to shoot at targets, right? They know how to breach a building in video games, like they're Halo champions, but fuck all if you actually wanted them next to you in a real firefight.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's what and I wish people would get away with the stigma that if you are training to defend yourself, that you are actively training to kill people or kill people that are being oppressive. Like I got into a real big argument with my wife. I had my laptop and I was working on a PowerPoint for counterinsurgency ops, because I have just so much documentation. I was trying to put it, because when I was with USBC, I was in charge of training, and I was trying to put together some stuff, and like the first, she saw the first slide and it said ambush ops, and she was like, what the fuck is this? Are you trying? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to help inform people of what to do. And she's a very rabid left-wing person, but you know, there's a lot of things that she's not too, so it kind of just throws me off. she doesn't buy into any of this crap going on. So we get in a lot of arguments about it, and I'm just waiting for the moment to where I can like get her to call me or something, and be like, and like have the fact that I actually red pilled her finally. But
yeah, I definitely agree that the stigma exists way too heavily. I actually, one of the earlier kind of influences to push me towards this anti-establishment route was the Divergent book series.
oh yeah,
I like it's not like super great of a book series. It's not like that much better than like Hunger Games or any of the other ones that came out in that time period. But the world that it takes place in is by far my favorite, and like the factions and everything like that. And so like I got really into that. Like not like a nerd, but just like on a philosophical level of like, I had like the Dauntless Manifesto like printed out and on my cork board in my room because it was cool. And it says like part of that is we do not believe that learning to master violence encourages unnecessary violence is like one of the pieces of that. And it's like yeah, we need to know what the fuck to do if shit goes down. That doesn't mean we want shit to go down. And
right.
more often than not, the people that know what happens when shit goes down, they don't want shit to go down. Right? Like it's the morons that want to go into a fight. Like most people that are trained in like MMA aren't instigating fights at the bar.
No.
Right? Like it's the people that don't actually have a fucking clue what they're doing. And same goes with this stuff. The kind of people that are like, yeah, burn it down. We're going to take the, like, rah, rah, rah. Like, those people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Those aren't the Boog
Right.
people. Those aren't even Antifa people. Those aren't any of the groups that we're talking that could be brought up in a conversation like this. These are the fucking morons that don't know.
Those are the most dangerous ones too, because they start pushing this narrative that, just because this certain sect of people, and it doesn't mean that it covers the whole realm of thought. Because like these guys that have gotten in trouble already in the Boogaloo movement, anybody that I have ever met, minus the guys in Michigan, have never spoken to them. And I know just about everybody in the movement. I mean, I'm not saying that I know everyone, but at least one person has to have some knowledge of these guys that they're trying to name as these violent extremists, and it's just not true. People have been saying that Boogaloo means civil war. Like no. Boogaloo means revolution. You don't have to have violence to have revolution, a revolution of thought.
Right. It doesn't have to get violent. And it shouldn't have to get violent. And in fact, we literally built a country where it doesn't. It specifically doesn't. Like we made a country so it doesn't have to get violent. That was the point.
Yep.
All we're trying to do is make sure that we hold people accountable for it. And then they wonder why we stick up for the Second Amendment. They say stuff like, oh, it's already been shredded. Like, what are you going to do now? It's like, well, that's why we're training. Like, that's why we're doing some shit.
People that are trying to do evil or violent to anybody, just because they don't have a firearm doesn't mean that they're going to come up with a different alternatives to harming people. Like, look at Timothy McVeigh. He killed hundreds and thousands of people at the I can't remember the name of the building in Oklahoma City. He used fertilizer and diesel fuel. All the mass CAS that we've had in our country have been from bombs or certain or other explosive devices. Look at like the Twin Towers. Those were airplanes that they turned into bombs. It's and this narrative that
hypothetically.
Yeah, but I mean, they were like kamikazes,
Yeah. Or the buildings just blew up and there was a completely unrelated plane that hit it.
I've always wondered that, man. people always have this evidence of like, you know, the scaffolding was cross beamed and it was cut and stuff, but I don't know. I was in eighth grade when it happened.
Yeah, there is a shit ton of evidence, like a shit ton of evidence to a bunch of these conspiracy theories. And I lived in New York City for about 4 years, and so got to like make a bunch of friends that lived through it, like watched it happen. You know, I have friends whose like parents were in the Twin Towers and like got out. I have some friends whose parents were there and didn't actually. So it's like there's too much when you actually start to hear the real stories, and like you start to look
Right.
into like Building 7, and you actually like take it apart and put it back together. It just doesn't. Nothing adds up. Like no piece of the
No.
official story adds up. And my absolute favorite piece of evidence to my claims is Donald Trump, who went on the news like 3 or 4 days after it happened and said that it was impossible, based on the structure of those buildings, for an airplane to make them fall like that.
Right.
And then he became president.
Right. Like looking back now, like I was really excited at first when he got elected. I'm like, me and my friend watched it all night, and we're like, finally, somebody that doesn't take any bullshit and is just gonna start putting people in their place.
Mm-hmm.
And then within 100 days, I was like, oh fuck, it's just another Bush.
Yeah. Except worse. He was arguably
Yeah,
worse.
I think so. People try to say that he's racist, and I've had this argument with people so much. I don't believe he's racist. I believe he's an elitist. I believe that race doesn't have anything to do with the way he feels. I think he thinks he's better than everyone.
Mm-hmm. He is, yeah, he's a classist. He is a nationalist. He is a xenophobe. He is but he is not. He is not. I agree. I don't think he's racist. I think he's got some stereotypes in his head that could be argued are racist.
But that goes along with, like you said, the classist and the elitist thing. People like, I grew up in a fairly, you know, well-off family. My mom made herself out of nothing, and my dad's actually a Hennepin County cop in Minneapolis. And you know, I grew up around cops my whole life, and I had this real obscure thought process of black people. And thank God for the military, man, because you meet everybody there, and it completely. I've never been racist, but I always look twice because I've heard so many horror stories about the stuff that, you know, this black guy did or that black guy did. You know, it's funny, in researching my genealogy, I found out like I'm 98% white. I found out that my great grandfather was one of the first freemen in Kansas to own land. I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
Wow. You are you are the purist.
Right? He bought land in, I think it was the 1861 or 62, and owned a shop, and that's where they you know, went on from there.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah, my family's been here for a long fucking time too. We're German, and have been in New York since it was owned by Germany instead of England before it was the US. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm doing the research too. I found out, like, I always grew up thinking that on my dad's side, that my German side, that they came over here from Germany after World War II. Then I found out that's not even true. That they've been here. So I have some family that have been in the United States since like the first few colonies.
Wow. Yeah. See, fucking in the US, all of these conversations get so muddied and mixed up. I was actually having this conversation with my mom earlier today because we were talking about. She said she posed the question. She was like, "Name a nationality that hasn't been discriminated against at some point in time."
Right.
And I'm like, technically, you're right, but there's like really varying degrees of like that's it's a really broad sentence. And what I brought up was like it depends on where you're talking about most specifically, because she said like maybe England, like British people have never been discriminated, but they were in France, right, for like hundreds of years.
The Romans fucked them up all the time.
Right. So even they like have some history. So okay, now we're just talking about the US, right? Like if we put that microcosm down, okay, now the Jews lose all of their fucking like claims to anything because they've never been discriminated against in the US like actively, not the way that like the Holocaust didn't happen here, right? Like that that thing goes away. Like if you want to bring it down to the microcosm of just the US, because like, oh, English people have never been discriminated against here. Well, that's kind of not even true because like we went to war with them as a country twice, almost 3 times. You know, like it's, and then you get down to, so like Germans have definitely been discriminated against in the US, right? That's a real thing that we can talk about. But like my family didn't feel that being German, even though I'm like 60 or 70 something percent German, like I'm mostly German. Like I still can't claim any kind of like what feelings about that. Like my family fought for the US in World War II, right? They were all in the military and they were all on our side, right? So like we're American. Like we all just need to be American.
Right. I couldn't agree more. This separating into different classes and groups is really is what's causing so much divide. Like you're talking about the Germans, and you know they when they were discriminated against in World War II. Same with the Japanese, like or anybody that even looked remotely Japanese, they threw them all into camps. And that hasn't even been 100 years ago. That's just barely over 80, and people are still saying no, the U.S. wouldn't do that. Look at the Native Americans, man. They still get discriminated against. Like they've had they're the original Americans, and they've had to fight more than just about any other class in this country that I can think of.
Yeah. What I find the most hilarious, and people might come at me for this take, you brought up the Japanese internment camps. That was happening at the same time as the Holocaust, right? Like we were doing the same shit. We weren't killing them. That's the only difference, right? We weren't genociding. Like that's where the line gets drawn. But like we were doing everything but. And if you really want to try to tell me that you think that we wouldn't have taken that extra step if the war had kept going, I don't believe you.
I don't either. If there would come a point, in my opinion, that if the war had continued over the next 4 or 5 years after that, that they would start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. There's this show on Amazon Prime. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a dystopian view that if the Germans and Japanese were still continuing World War II, or no, it was before that. It follows this family and friends of Jews that they show like what's his name? Charles Lindbergh was going to run for president, and it's part of like a National Socialist group, and it's based in New York, and it talks about how they already started trying to move people to ghettos before the war was even over.
Yeah, that's a whole other. Our country has done more to fuck up itself. Like we talk about like white guilt and white privilege and like all those things, right? But really, like, it's just the fucking government. Like,
Yeah.
Like unless we're talking about, unless we're going all the way back, we're talking about like slavery. But even that, like, was protected by government.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
You know, a funny, it's not funny, but this is a fact, like about slavery. People tried to exclude all other races that were involved in slavery. But if you look over the past 2,000 years in the whole worldwide, at least at one point, almost every ethnicity has been either sold or put into slavery. And I'm not trying to take away from black people. Like what we did to them is just absolutely fucking atrocious. I like it makes me just I can't even fathom what that would have been like. And I don't think any of us can. And I think that's what's so scary about what's going on in our country now is we don't have that ability to relate. None of us do. Americans live a very, very comfortable life, and we have ever since, at least since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we're not allowed to relate. We're not allowed to talk about it or compare or like really like delve into it or really have opinions about it.
Right.
We're becoming a little bit more okay with that now, but now it's kind of like it's more, we're not allowed to have feelings about it. We're being told to have specific feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not actually having like open and honest discussions about like, hey, what what did we do? Like what, you mentioned other races, like let's have a conversation about that. Like how did it go from a classist thing to a racist thing? Like,
right.
because it basically did that, right? Like it made that
Right.
shift to where at the end of it, there was basically only black slaves in the U.S. Even the Irish, like indentured servants, kind of stopped being a thing right around the same time, right?
Right.
So like eventually it came down to where it was just a racist thing.
Mm.
And we need to figure that out because originally, because like the class warfare of slavery, that concept is like clearly bad and everyone can just agree to that. We can just move on from that, right? We can all agree slavery is bad, right? Like we just doesn't have to necessarily be a conversation, but to conflate slavery and racism against black people specifically, you just negate the ability to have any other kind of conversation about either of those two things. We can't really talk about racism correctly. We can't talk about slavery correctly. We can't talk about relations between the North and the South correctly. We can't talk about flags correctly, because it's all about,
Statues.
right. I mean, like, I'm all for like, fuck the statues of Confederate generals and fuck anyone that flies the Confederate flag because fuck you.
Yeah, I live in Texas, and I grew up in Minnesota, but I live in Texas, and I didn't think anything about this the stars and bars until last like 4 or 5 years, and now that I see it on people flying it, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like I saw this one dude driving around in this truck, and he had two flags in the back of his truck flying. One was the Confederate flag, and the other one was a MAGA flag. And I was like, well, that's some shit right there.
I mean, like, those two kind of make sense together in a couple of ways, but what always gets me is the people that fly Gadsden flag and a thin blue line flag.
Yeah. Those were like complete polar opposites of. Oh my god! And that sucks. We were having that conversation in our Twitter group, or I can't remember where it was on, like that. We can't even fly the Gadsden flag anymore because now the far right, alt right have basically taking it over.
Yeah, I marched in the 50th anniversary Pride Parade with this. It's actually still right here. Fucking rainbow Gadsden flag, right?
Oh yeah, you're talking about that.
And got called a racist. I'm like, it's a fucking. Do you think if I was some like racist, homophobic, like alt-right Nazi dude, would I be here? Like, why would I show up to like the most like I as a very like pro LGBT straight person was like at my limit on that day of like just tolerating like the amount of just like rainbows and propaganda and bullshit. Like if I was any further on the spectrum towards what they thought I was, there was no fucking way I would have been there.
No,
Like,
I mean, well, why? Like, why would you put yourself there if you're not there to represent what they're their fight?
right. Yeah. Yeah, why would I fly a rainbow Gadsden flag and show up to the Pride parade and march and like outreach and try to get gay people involved in the Libertarian Party if I was some homophobe? Like this doesn't even make sense.
Mm-mm.
I
But
don't get people.
I have a very severe disdain for people in general. I can't. I don't have patience for them. I don't have like I've tried to be patient with people, and it just gets to the point where I just want to fucking strangle them anytime they have this obscure fucked off opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Yeah, people kind of suck. So let's talk about the Redacted Caucus and what
Cool.
you guys are working on over there.
So the Redacted Caucus, like our mission statement is, trying to organize and unite organizations and groups who wish to ensure liberty and freedom. Almost we haven't opened it up to membership yet. We have our FEC filings for our PAC and stuff, and I just haven't gotten the bank account situated because we're trying to do a carry committee. We're trying to do a hybrid PAC, which is a super
Mhm.
PAC and a regular PAC, along with the caucus. Almost all the guys that I have on my staff and gal, they're all members of the Liberty or Boogaloo movement, and at a minimum have been involved for at least 3 months that I can think of. A lot of them have been a couple of them have been around since the Boog was just a meme on 4chan. We're affiliated with the LP and ideology. I'm trying to get more on board with other caucuses and groups, but it's hit or miss. I was in conversation with the Mises Caucus, and now they won't even like return anything now. I think because I think my former partner that I started the caucus with, I think she kind of blackballed me, which is fine. I don't care. We don't need them. It just would help to work together. Like that's the whole point, is we're trying to unite people. We're trying to bring people together to fight this fight that we have. And if we don't, we're all going to fail, and we're all going to fail miserably for generations to come. Like I said, I would like to be involved with more caucuses in groups, even on the right or left spectrum. Anybody that wants to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
I participated with activism with BLM, and I was my first actual like protest with them. Well, I told you, I had the one that wasn't far from my house, but it was more of a memorial for 2 of the soldiers that got murdered at Fort Hood. But a few weeks later, Garrett Foster got murdered, and I believe it was October 1st. We were in Austin, and we had like 50 Boog boys with us, and we were they called us the convoy or convoy of chaos. We had like 5 trucks completely loaded with armed guys, and we went there and stood in solidarity with them and tried to protect them from the cops. At one point, we even had like 9 or 10 police officers draw their firearms on us until they realized that they were completely surrounded by us, and they quickly put their weapons away. And we weren't there to start violence. We're not trying to start violence anywhere. We're just trying to get along and come to find some middle ground with these groups and people that have been long estranged.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. You familiar with the horseshoe theory? Like the 2 ends are closer than the middle.
Oh yeah.
I find it really funny that becomes truer like as you get closer to the ends, and I didn't really realize that, and I didn't because the people we talk about that, meaning like the like kind of liberty progressives and the like liberty conservatives, right, are like close, but they still hate the other team's extremists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you talk to a normal libertarian and say, "Hey, how do you feel about BLM?" or "How do you feel about Antifa?" more
Mm-hmm.
specifically, I actually did an episode on it on my other show, where this guy was like actually going off, and like every time Antifa marches, they're burning down buildings and blah 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 blah. And like if you ask a progressive about the Boog Boys, they're some Nazi like alt-right like white supremacist movement. But when you actually get to the actual ends of the horseshoe, y'all are like chilling out, and y'all are friends. Like the people that go online to back up the Boog Boys shit on Antifa and vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
but meanwhile y'all are actually friends in real life. And I find
Yeah,
that fucking hilarious.
I last year I was trying to work with Rose City. We were in dialogue with them, and it broke down. Mainly because the second somebody started throwing an insult, it just went downhill from there. But I'm still open to working with Antifa. I think the thought behind anti-fascism is an amazing idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's the real string pullers at the top that are making it hard for us all to work together. Because I mean, like you're saying, like at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. I mean, there's no way to get around that. We all want to have a country that is going to be secure for our kids and their kids.
Amen. A fucking men. And we all want to get rid of this fucking bullshit regime that's controlling our every waking moment. Like, can we just it's been all year, really. I've said this too much on the show. Anybody watching is probably sick of hearing me say this. But like just the bullshit, not even just within the LP, like this is just the country in general. Like the bullshit fighting over dumb things and like allowing ourselves to be polarized over issues that shouldn't be political,
Mm-hmm.
just so that we can fight each other on stupid things instead of fighting the fucking state.
Yeah.
It's like, why are any of these issues political? Like, why is Jeffrey Epstein political?
What
Like,
happened to him? Didn't he die or something? I mean,
oh, didn't you hear he killed himself?
right? Well, then why hasn't what is Ghislaine or Ghislaine? How do you say her name? I haven't heard shit about her. Is she still in prison? I mean, or in federal lockup? I mean, nobody knows.
Supposedly. Nope, nobody will ever know. She's just gonna. They didn't even have to kill her. She just vanished,
Mm-mm.
and no one cared.
As soon as they found the next thing to bitch about on the news, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's
Well, you
really
see, Meghan Markle's like really upset about the British royalty. So
Did you
that's
watch that?
no, fuck no.
It was interesting. I I followed like the monarchy, and I'm real interested in like their history and whatnot.
Fucking
And I like
red coat. What?
The Crown is like one of my favorite shows. And like I was really shocked that she was like actually coming out and like saying the stuff she did. I'm like, all right, well, somebody needs to say it.
I mean, yeah, I saw a couple of clips, but I've refused to actually go and watch. I just don't have time for that kind of shit. But you're definitely a red coat, so
Yeah.
that's noted now for forever.
I've got it in my blood. I've got a lot of British and Irish in me, so maybe it's a genetics thing.
There you go. That I guess that makes sense. I mean, I was yeah, no, I've been fighting for America America since before America was America. Like my genetics are just American, including some Native Americans. So like, yeah.
There you go. You got all you got the Heinz 41.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the Redacted Caucus is uniting groups, and I'm loving to see it. And you guys are you guys are taking an approach to it that is somewhat similar but also very much different than like the Unity Caucus and what that group of us have been kind of already working on. I like it's kind of more to that horseshoe theory what I was mentioning, like, because I feel like the libertarian, like the liberty unity thing is like Mosh and Dave Smith need to get along so we can message to like most of the people, right? It's not like the Boog and the and BLM need to get along so that we can coordinate the next time we burn down a police precinct, or like the next time we want to do something peaceful and not get fucked up.
Right.
So I think that it's kind of like we're like the normie wing of the same movement.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there needs to be more. There need to be more. Like I don't want our caucus to own unity. Like that's the last thing we need. There needs to be more groups of people that get together and actually start talking to each other. I mean, we need to have a convention of states and have us all come together and figure out a solution to this fucking overwhelming problem that we're getting more and more each day. Like that clip that Reed shared on Twitter about I don't know who that the woman that was on the Como show was, but she was talking about the carrot and stick that, you know, if you get the vaccine, you're still not allowed to go travel the country. You should still take. I don't understand how people can watch that and not be worried, because she openly came out and said that even though you're vaccinated, you're not going to be free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because then you need a passport.
All right. It's truly like, I try not to let this stuff bug me, but it's terrifying. Like it's fucking terrifying, and it makes me even more angry that other people aren't as terrified as I am. I mean, I'm not somebody that's more intelligent or have a better knowledge of the world than most people, but if I can read between the lines and see the shit that's going on and have a real deep-seated fear of what's happening, I can't not, like I can't walk away from that. I've had marital problems, and I've had the feds come to my house. Like they were here just like 2 or 3 days ago. The morning that Garrett Foster's fiance, the day after the Garrett Foster's fiance got pushed out of her wheelchair, they came knocking at my door at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't even seen the video yet. And I had no clue what they were talking about, and I had to like, I don't know what to do about that, because they're really winning in their tactics to put fear into people and to push people back into hiding. That's one of the biggest things that we've had issue with, is people that were heavily involved in the liberty movement are now completely disassociated because they've had their family threatened. Like I had a friend of mine, the feds threatened to deport his wife, even though she's an American citizen now.
How is that? How does that work?
No clue. I've seen the dialogue though between he got pushed out. Like he had no. I've tried to get him back on board with the caucus, and like, but he just his wife's Indian, and I don't know. But yeah.
Well, have you seen the ads for this new well health safety seal thing? Have you seen this ad? Hold on, let me
No.
see if I can share my screen for this one, because this one freaked me out. All right. There we go.
I'm not getting any sound. Is it working on your end?
Oh. Yeah. Huh. I don't know why the audio was
Well,
jacked up
what
on
is
that
it?
one. But so
What's the
it's
synopsis?
literally just a sticker that you have to put on the outside of your whatever the fuck to tell people that you're following all of the appropriate requirements to exist, basically. It's literally a government program that's yeah, it's a fucking it's a sticker that you have to wear on your business or on your like literally any establishment. They go through a list at the beginning of like all the different types of businesses that would have this. We're talking schools, banks, restaurants, like literally everything that you would go to and needs or could have this sticker on it to say that it's a-okay and you should actually be going to this place. If it doesn't have the magic sticker, beware.
But don't make that comparison to the yellow stars. Those are completely different.
Those are very, very much different. No, I mean, and they actually were very, very much different because they were based on race, which is like
Right.
a whole other fucking thing. Like racist based fascism just doesn't even make sense to me. It's like it's
Right.
the laziest fucking thing to be like, this one genetic structure of humans is the reason for all bad things. It's just the laziest fucking thing. Like I'm more mad at them for the laziness factor than the actual like it being racist. It's like,
Right.
really? You couldn't have thought of anything better to like demonize than the Jewish people. And I say the same thing to the fucking right wingers in America right now. It's like, really? You got all this bullshit going on. You got fucking Epstein Island. You got fucking like all of these other fucking perfect conspiracy theories. We can talk about fucking 9/11. We can talk about all these other like really legitimate things. You want to talk about, you want to hate on some like normal dude from Brooklyn because of his genetic structure, like where his heritage is from, because of some like, no, just stop. Just it's the laziest.
Do you know where one of the beginnings to the race issue with Jews in Germany was? It was after, and so after World War One, in the Versailles Treaty, the Allies, the nations that fought back Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, put these stipulations that Germany owed hundreds of billions of dollars to them, and so in the 20s, like their economy was completely collapsed for like 3 or 4 years. Like people, like bread was like $1 billion marks and people were dying. But they started getting bailed out by countries, and us as the United States was like one of the biggest ones. But then when our stock market crashed in 1929 on Black Thursday or Tuesday, they called in all their debt. And so from when that happened, Germany went back into like this recession, and that was Hitler's platform. Was it's not your fault that we lost World War One. It's not our monarchy's fault that lost World War One. It's the Jews. They're the reason why. And so that's where the real big race issue came on, because there's always been anti-Semitism in Europe. It's been something since the Jews came there from the Holy Land. But that's when it really started getting really violent, was And that's how Hitler was able to garner support from the German people. You find a bad guy, or find a group of bad guys, and you can blame them. It takes the pressure off of you for fucking up. So then that's what they're doing now with like this vaccination thing. Is eventually the economy is going to crash. It's not if, it's when. You know, they're talking about doing this like $1.9 trillion roads and transportation bill. That's just the starting point. That's not even the amount of money that's going to be allocated. That's their baseline that they're getting passed through the bill. It could be several $1 trillion more than that.
And that's literally just one department of the federal government.
Yeah. And like this last COVID bill, I read through a lot of it, and I got into it with somebody because they were trying to explain it to me, and I was like, "There's no way." But I went in there and I looked and I found it. It was on page like 217 or something. We allocated $3.7 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for AIDS. In what way does that relate to COVID or trying to boost the economy? Like, don't get me wrong, the AIDS issue is a real deal, but Bill Gates is worth $100 billion. Why do we need to be giving him more money that he already like? I didn't understand. That was just one piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just one piece of all of the bullshit. I found out my hometown, is getting a couple $1 million out of that bill for no reason. Yeah, because it included a whole bunch of like random like help the small towns recover from COVID. Okay.
Have you seen the movie Irresistible with Stephen Carell?
I have not.
It's a newer movie. You should check it out. It's funny, but the end of the movie is I don't want to ruin it for you, but the end of the movie is just fucking perfect. It like labels and spotlights how the Republicans and Democrats are able to raise all these millions and billions of dollars for these political movements, and this town completely suckered the Republican or the Democrat Party into giving them a shit ton of money through a PAC that they were going to use to fix their town that had been just completely decimated.
Nice. That's genius.
It really is. I didn't expect the ending at all. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. And it was written by Jon Stewart. He's who I was really surprised it came from him too.
I felt that one coming. Fuck. I was like, this is going to be a long, awkward pause. I felt the pause coming, and then I felt the cough coming, and I was like, nope, we're just going to be silent here for a second.
That's how you know it's working.
Right. If it's not coughing, or if you're not coughing, it's not worth it. Oh, you bought some shitty weed.
Yeah, there you
go. So you guys did an event, or are doing an event in
April 24th.
April 24th. Yep. Tell me about that. What's
it's a unity rally, and it started out as as a thing that me and Dan Berman were working on, and him and I were going to be the speakers, but it turned into something even bigger that I'm hoping is going to be bigger. We're inviting everyone. We want everybody to come. It's going to be at Butler Metro Park, right across the river in Austin, between 6th and Congress and South Congress. And I'm talking with my BLM contacts here tomorrow to try to solicit a speaker from them too, that they can bring. I'm hoping that I can find. I've been working on other speakers too, but the convention in Wisconsin is going on that weekend. So I was going to get Spike. Spike was going to come, but he wasn't. He's going to be at the convention. So I'm hoping that we can at a later date get him to come down, because ultimately that's who, in my opinion, has been the most uniting of the Liberty and Boogaloo movement. He was the one that that started the normalized boogaloo, hashtag, and we're not even trying to just like unite just people that are in the liberty movement. We're trying to not unite everybody. We want everybody to come out. We're hoping that, and I this is something I'm really going to get shot for, but we would prefer if people didn't come armed, just so other people that aren't armed don't feel threatened. So, if you do come, it's not a big deal. You can open carry in Texas, but I would prefer that if people just showed up. We're going to. I'm trying to plan some way to do like a barbecue too, that we can start passing out food. And then I think later on that evening, I'm trying to plan a donor dinner for Dan's campaign to kind of bring people there afterwards. He's running for governor here next year, so I've been working on his campaign a lot.
Yes. Yeah, we just had him on the show 2 days ago.
He's a really good dude, and he's got. No, go ahead.
So yeah, it's just been a dope lineup, because I did Dan Berman, then I did Magnus, now you. So it's like it's kind of it's a good trio right there.
I think so too, man. You need to have all of us on here.
Fuck yeah, we should do it all like 4 of us together at some point in time.
That would be rad.
Would be dope. Yeah, I think I'm loving the Liberty Unity thing, and it's getting there, right? It's got some.
It has to.
it has to, right? But I also have come to the conclusion that it's like it's too small of a mindset. Right. Like it's a necessary mindset. Like, we need to unite the Libertarian Party.
Mm-hmm.
To do Libertarian Party things, but we also need to unite the Libertarian Party with other movements that don't belong in the party if we want to do some actual things.
That's what drew me to the Libertarian Party. Because if you look at their ideology and that kind of structure, they pull from both sides of the aisle. Like, you have some right-wing philosophy, and then you have some left-wing philosophy. And, going back to your horseshoe theory, that should be what helps bring the left and the right closer together, the Libertarian Party and people within the Libertarian Party. But all this infighting with us has got to stop, like, over bullshit tweets. And it's like, it just makes me want to just completely get off Twitter when people are like, that I know who are friends, are openly attacking each other.
Yeah, it plays into the same like duopoly bullshit. Yeah, I mean, I got into it with actually I won't say his name. I got into it with somebody the other day or yesterday I think it was, who's just like straight up attacking LP National, or the National Libertarian Party was the words that he kept using. He wasn't like adding, or he wasn't like mentioning the specific Twitter account or anything like that, or even the committee specifically. He was saying just the party. And I'm like, bro, that's not true. Like, you're part of the party. Like, you're like, you and I both sit on our prospective state committees. Like, we're part of the party. Like, just because we're not on the LNC doesn't mean we're not part of the National Libertarian Party. Like, you're insulting everyone with this tweet. You are telling everyone that follows you that the party, this whole thing that you and I are both busting our asses to build, is bullshit with your fucking bullshit ass tweets. So stop. And he actually defended himself like multiple times, and then went, well, agree to disagree, have a good day, have to go back to work. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're really going to defend this shit? You're going to defend just attacking an entire political party because you're mad about one fucking Facebook post after spending an entire day, the day prior, being mad that other people are mad about one Twitter post. And it's like,
it's hypocritical as fuck.
super fucking hypocritical. And it was a 24-hour turnaround on that one. Blew my fucking mind. It was like one day it was this team was pissed off about a Twitter post, and this team was like, don't overreact. And then literally the very next day, this team over here was overreacting to a Facebook post, and this team over here was still overreacting to the Twitter post.
They're winning. Like that's how they're winning. They're the duopoly is amazing at divisive tactics. Like they could write a goddamn book on it and pass it out to people, because we've been doing it for 40 years in other countries. Like they have they have it down pat how to destabilize a country, and people are falling for it. People are openly supporting it, and it just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. And while this team is overreacting to a Twitter post and this team is overreacting to a Facebook post, neither team is reacting actually to the vaccine passports.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Neither team is actually reacting to like lockdowns. Neither team is reacting to police brutality. Neither team is reacting to taxes. You know, neither team is building an alternative to Twitter so that we don't have to be on that cesspool anymore.
Right. And that's like the same thing with Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Completely.
Because like they deplatform thousands of people, and I'm all about privatization. And Zuckerberg owns it. It's his. It's nobody else's, and Instagram as well. But it is also openly violating people's First Amendment rights. Like there's no other way around it. There just isn't. Because like I said, I had the max amount of friends that you could have, and I was getting reactions to any post that I was making. But now I have 300 followers on Twitter with the caucus. I went, it's and we're trying to grow, but it's such a fucking fight to get those people, to get your audience. So what happens if we get big again on Twitter? Are they gonna fucking kick me off again? Because they probably will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been really worried about that lately, especially the last couple of especially when it was a big thing, right? Like they purged. I lost a couple hundred followers. They purged a bunch of my friends, like a whole bunch. I was worried. I was like, I'm out here stoked that I just broke 1K and it's about to be gone in an instant.
Yeah.
And now I just broke 2K and could still be gone in an instant.
That's what that really pissed me off. About Parler was they got bullied into completely like ending. Like they don't even exist anymore, to my knowledge. And I even though there was a whole shit ton of just bullshit content from the far right, there was also people in the liberty movement that were trying to find an alternative. And I mean, and now that's gone. And at some point we're going to have no way to express our voice. Yeah, you have your First Amendment rights, but you can only tell people that you can call or talk to in person. You can't talk about it online anymore.
Yeah. I am liking Clubhouse so far.
I can't figure that shit out, man. I've tried.
Yeah, I kind of avoided it for a little bit, and then I talked to Jess Mears, and her and I hosted a Clubhouse room together, and Justin Amash and Matt Kibbe and Terry Kibbe and Hannah Cox and Jack Hunter and Zach Weisserberger and like a whole bunch of other Eric Brakey, a whole bunch of other people came in, and like they all followed me. And like now anytime I like go into a libertarian themed room, I like get made a speaker almost instantaneously. And I'm like, this is fun. Though. This is fun. I'm liking this. This is a good time.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna have to try to figure that out, because I can get on there and I can listen to shit, but I don't know how. I know it has something to do with invites, but I'm pretty tech inept.
I'm like I'm right on that like mediocre level as I am with most things where I can figure it out if I really put in the work, but I
Right.
don't want to put in the work, so I don't figure it out.
Right.
That's how it is with like most tech things. But
Yeah,
at
I'd
this,
have to
yeah.
agree.
But no, Clubhouse, it's a very interesting platform in and of itself. Like it's an interesting concept because it creates like FOMO, like really hard because there's no recording, right? It's not like a podcast like this where everybody can just like go watch this again and again and again for forever. Like this is just a conversation. Like it's just like in real time and then it's gone forever. It's like back to like real life kind of in a way
Mhm.
that we've really gotten away from in the last year with everything being on podcasts and on social media and like live streams and like we were doing Zoom, but even that like a bunch of people were recording those and like a lot of like liberty themed like Zoom calls were getting live streamed
Oh,
and
that
stuff like that. I think kind of like lives for forever now, and
right.
we don't have this like tangible like live in the moment kind of thing of like you have to actually be here. I can't just pause it and walk away and come back. uh
That's
so
definitely a
it's
downside for sure.
it yeah it's I have mixed feelings about it because it's like it I think it's a downside, but the fact that I think it's a downside I think is a problem, and therefore I think it's actually an upside, if that makes sense. I think
No,
I think
I
I've been conditioned to be reliant on this like pause and play mentality of like just super amounts of control over my life and like everything just being there whenever I want to go back to it, never really having to care about it, never really having to pay attention because I can always just go back and rewatch it if I forget, like
right,
even this conversation, like if need be I can just go back and watch this episode again. If I could
right.
forget everything that we talk about and go back and rewatch it and remember it all and then like have before our next conversation, right? And not that I'm going to do that, but like I have the ability to do that with the way that we work in society. So I think that this although I hate it and I consider it like a hindrance, I think that it's kind of like a good hindrance that might be good for society to embrace and go back to just this living in the moment, sitting in a room together kind of mentality.
And that's kind of how Facebook kind of fucked up me. I got used to having the ability to have like message anybody that I needed to, and I would be able to tell when they read it, and they could comment back. But now, like after not having it for so long, I found that I have so much more free time on my hands to do other stuff, and I'm pissed that it happened, but at the same time, I'm very grateful because now I have time to focus. And being ADHD, it doesn't help at all to have something that you can just get on and lose yourself in out for hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's even worse when you can justify it for what you're doing with your life, whether you're in the liberty movement or like you have a brand on social media. Like social media is so important with almost whatever you do that you can justify it if you have any kind of like a entrepreneurial lifestyle. Um, like your personal brand online is important if you want to
Right,
do anything with your life.
right,
So like I can justify the amount of time that I spend on Twitter in a day very easily, and actually can get mad at myself sometimes for how little amount of time I spent on Twitter. Like today, I've spent almost no time on Twitter today, and my notifications are blowing up. I have an unread message from Dave Smith that's sitting there about scheduling an interview that I need to finish, but I haven't yet. Um, there's like I know I got tagged in a couple of things but I've been on Twitter for like all of maybe an hour scattered out throughout today, and so I missed out on some stuff. I'm sure if I had been like interacting with what's been making my phone blow up all day, I could have gotten 150 follows. Like I know that Dave Smith like added me like 2 or 3 times like today. Like I know what that could do to my follower count if I do it, if I like handle it correctly.
Right.
So I I could actually be mad at myself today for not being on Twitter enough. Like I did a bad job at my job because I wasn't on Twitter when I should. Like I wasn't at work. I didn't show up to work today because I wasn't logged into Twitter all day. Like I can actually have that mentality and it be accurate. And so it
Right.
really fucks up like my actual life because like how can I be like enlightened and evolved and like not be reliant on this like fucking clickbaity bullshit and like living off of the notification bell when it's my job. It's
Right.
literally my job.
Oh yeah, totally. I totally get that. I had to silence my phone a couple nights ago because it was something that we were all talking about. I woke up, I had like 160 notifications. I was like, holy shit. Like, and yeah, it's every day. And yeah, you're right. It's definitely a plus side to it because the more followers you get, the more you expand your audience and the more people you can try to bring into the fold and get involved. And that's the thing that we really need to focus on is as a movement, we have a lot of online activity, but our outside activity is terrible. Like people need to get more engaged with their party, with their local party, with the national party, with caucuses, with group. People need to start opening up their eyes and realize that if we don't do it now, there's not going to be another chance. We're at the very, very brink of the point of no return.
Mhm. Well, I think what the problem is we have people that are out there doing stuff, right? And we have people that are spending all day online. And those two groups are fighting with each other
Yeah,
instead of working together because like the left has the same problem, but the people that spend all day online are online sharing pictures of the people that are out there doing stuff because they manage the Twitter accounts for these activist organizations or something like that. Meanwhile,
right,
like we have fucking state LP accounts posting hot takes with 4,000 followers.
right. That's what I really like about Magnus so much and the people his group is just about every other day he's out doing something and it's impressive and I would
Mhm.
really like to be more involved as he is, but I currently am under some serious restrictions by the state of Texas. I have an ankle monitor on. I can't leave my county unless I ask permission to, over some bullshit that happened 6 years ago that I'm still fighting.
Damn. Gotta love tyranny.
Can't beat it. That's what really that. But I am grateful that it happened because now I have a whole different take of the criminal justice system, and it's really pushed me to want to correct it because I'm nowhere near even a fraction of the percentage of people's lives that have been ruined by the type of criminal justice stuff that we have going on in our country.
Mhm.
Like after slavery ended in 1865, you know, black people, that's where they came up with vagrancy laws, is they were trying to find ways to imprison black people for whatever the case may be. Because
Mhm.
back in the day when you went to prison, you worked on a chain gang. You actually went out and worked out in the community. And it's evolved into this modern day way for anybody, any color or creed, to be imprisoned. You know, the biggest thing that I have a problem with is people that commit nonviolent crimes, do their time, but then they get out and they have zero life skills. They have zero ability to get a job. Most of their family probably doesn't even talk to them anymore, and it prevents them from succeeding in life and offering something that a lot of people, probably can't do. You have this
Yeah.
black stain left on your record for the rest of your life, and it's almost impossible to get it removed.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, we have just the worst criminal justice system. That's a whole other episode.
Right. Oh no, for sure.
Jesus. I've had my run-ins with them too. And I have a fairly similar reaction because I think that if like had I not had the couple like pretty bad interactions with the criminal justice system and with law enforcement and authority in general at like 16, 17, like I would have stayed pro cop, pro military. I probably would have been like a super Trump dude.
Right.
Uh Probably would have been like a like I would have gone super right. Like I would have stayed where I was politically, but gone like way harder into it, and I would have ended up like actually alt right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
I
can
said,
I can see that happening.
but instead I got kicked towards Gary Johnson instead by like a couple of people showing me who like what authority really could do and what power really
Hmm.
looks like and what the misuse of power looks like. And I'm like, all right, fuck that. I don't want any of that. And then, a couple years later, Gary Johnson becomes a thing. And I'm like, all right, I like this guy. Guns and drugs. Let's do it.
I wish he would get back into politics and actually, because I agree with you. I like that guy a lot, and
Hmm.
he I don't want to say he shit the bed for his presidential bid, but he kind of got fucked over with interviews, and people made him out to be a moron, and he's not. And it sucks because they're able they're able to do that with so many people and completely ruin their lives, and it prevents them from actually making a change. Like JoJo, I think she would have been an amazing president, but her campaign lasted for 4 or 5 months, and Spike was the only person that kept going with it.
Hmm. I'm glad to see her come back.
It is
I
nice.
under,
It is.
I understand she needed some time. Uh, I gave I was totally like understanding. I've yet to I might have said it like one or two things about her not being around, but like I really haven't. You know, I get it. You just ran a presidential campaign. Like take some time off. Like
Her mom
I
died
believe her
too,
mom
didn't
just
she?
died. Yeah,
Yeah.
during the campaign, she took like 2 days off when that happened and like kept campaigning. Joe is busting her ass. So yeah, she took a couple months off. That's fine. Now she's the president of People for Liberty, which means that she's going to be full time at this.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was glad to see that happen.
yeah, she's full time at this. Spike is full time at this. We have Lincoln Chafee and Judge Jim Gray giving testimony on behalf of a libertarian sponsored state house bill in Wyoming. We have, we have so many people who are like really fucking going ham at this now.
Right.
Where like this time, like 2 or 3 years ago, people were like starting to trickle into the presidential race, and like everyone that was a full time like libertarian activist was in the presidential race at like
Hmm.
for 2020. Like already like gearing up for it in 2017, 2018, right? They like, and it was just kind of pathetic. And there was like six of them, right? Now we have
Right.
all of those people still doing shit, and then more people now doing shit. And it's fucking awesome. It's like it's
Yeah.
truly awesome. I'm really excited to see what we can do with some like well funded, well organized, like well oiled like groups of people in the next year or two.
Yeah, and that's what the biggest downfall to the Libertarian Party, in my opinion, is the lack of financing. We
Hmm.
can't hold a candle to the two parties that are bringing in $1 billion worth of donations from special interests and from people. There's no way to fight that type of financial force.
No. But if you guys want to try, shop.fightforliberty.com. It's scrolling across the bottom.
Get it, get it. Get some
Man,
get some
I fucking
capitalism in this
suck
bitch.
at the plugs. I'm really, really bad at plugging the store and the Cash App and stuff. I do it in like every other episode, maybe. But
You need to, man, because we got to get more funding. We've got to start being able to, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do a hybrid pack, is because that's what I want. I want to drive for. Is I want to start funding these groups to be able to go out and do stuff, because we can show up at a location and protest, but we got to find other means. We've got to find other ways to get our voice heard, because eventually we're not going to be able to protest anymore. They're already trying to push a bill in Texas that would label protesters, if they were selected by police officers, as rioters, and they would make it a felony. There's other states too that are trying to do that. I know Kentucky or Tennessee just passed the House for a bill that would make I can't remember what it was, talking shit to cops a misdemeanor.
Yep, that's a thing. And then in England, they're actually trying to make it. They're basically trying to ban protesting in general.
I've seen those. Right, there's been a lot of protesting that have been people getting the shit beat out of them by the cops.
Have you seen the videos of the police dogs attacking the police?
Yeah.
In England, those are the best.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite fucking videos. The goodest of boys,
Oh, absolutely. I've got one right there. I have a German Shepherd, and I've had her for about 3 years.
I could see the tail behind your shoulder every once in a while going through.
She doesn't fuck around with people trying to break in. I was upstairs trying to take a shower last year sometime, and somebody broke into my house, and I didn't even hear the door open, but it was during the day, and all I heard was her just lose her shit. And I came down, and she was sitting on the couch with blood dripping off her mouth, and there was blood all over the entryway. So whoever got in didn't get in very far.
Damn.
She was just sitting there smiling, like, "Hey, what's up?"
Atta girl.
She got a steak out of that, so
nice, as she should have. Well, Trent, I want to give you an opportunity to plug the caucus and what you guys are doing again, real quick before we wrap up. So tell people what you guys are doing and how they can get involved, what you need out of people.
Yeah, we like I said, we're going to open up membership, and we're going to have certain levels of membership that we can start bringing in donations. I have all the paperwork and stuff, and I just have to get the bank account situated, because with the hybrid pack, you have to have 2 separate checking accounts, and they can't be mixed. So once I can get that, I'm trying to find a bank that does. I was going to do USAA because I'm a veteran, and I thought they would have great rates, but they don't do that. So, and our website is a good way to check out some stuff. I run it. I'm trying to update it and do some more stuff, but the best way to get in touch with us is our Twitter. I think as of now, most of us are banned from Facebook and Instagram, so we can't really use that platform. But April 24th, we are having a rally in Austin at the Butler Metro Park. It's right across the river between 6th Street and South Congress. 12 p.m. Dan Berman will be there. I'll be speaking, and I'll release a list of speakers within the next week or two of actual people, and I want everybody to come. I don't care if you are left wing, right wing, who cares? Just as long as you're not hateful and you're there to cause problems, show up, open up a dialogue. Let's start talking. Let's try to find this middle ground that I know exists, because if we don't, I just got done watching Star Wars, and the original trilogy, and I think we need to recruit George Lucas, because he might have an idea of how we can beat back the country or the state. But that's
rebellions are built on hope.
Yep. And that just I want people to come together, and I want us all to be friends, because if we don't work together, they're going to continue to divide us even more, and we're going to have nothing left.
Amen. Fucking man.
I got one more thing though. Check out my shirt that I'll see if I can get him. You can get him at gruntstyle.com. I thought this was pretty I
like that. I like that a lot. I'm kind of a nerd, so I enjoy computer-themed puns.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, Trent, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep.
I will definitely. I'm not sure that I will be able to make it down there for the 24th, but I will do my absolute best. And if anyone watching is anywhere near there, get your ass down there. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be some dope
It
people.
will be.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you back here next time. Trent,
All right. Thanks David.
again.
All right. Bye.
And we out.
Hey fighters, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos. If you want to learn more or get involved, go to fightforliberty.com/join or reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Fight for Liberty. If you want to help keep the show going, Patreon and Cash App are the way to do that. We'll catch you back here next time. Until then, keep up the fight.